in PPP we will learn how to enable the PAP, the authentication, as well as CHAP authentication. Before that, we should learn something with related to the WAN services. Let us start with that. When I'm talking about the WAN services, it is you can just imagine like you want to connect the two cities with the help of a service provider. So for that, I can say that connecting the two routing devices through a service provider network, I can treat it as the WAN network. Now, within the WAN connection, there are the different types are available. Let us see what are the different types of WAN connections. One is the point-to-point, second one is circuit switching technology, and third one is the packet switching technology. So let us try to understand what is the point-to-point switching technology. This is often called as a dedicated, or you can call it as a lease lines, and this will be the most expensive the WAN technology, because whatever the bandwidth that you're going to use, here the bandwidth, the cost will also be more. You can able to get a link of 2 Mbps or a 4 Mbps or a 8 Mbps or a 16 Mbps the links. So based on that your requirement, naturally the cost will going to increase, and this will provide a guaranteed bandwidth. What does it mean? Suppose if you purchase a lease line of 2 Mbps link, you are always available with the 2 Mbps. Whether you are going to use it or not, you are not going to use it, you have to pay for 2 Mbps link. The cost is normally determined by the distance of the connection and the bandwidth allocated. Whatever the cost that you are paying now, it depends on the two factors. One is the distance, how long. Suppose if you want to connect, say, from Mysore to Bangalore, or say Mysore to Delhi, the cost definitely it will going to vary like. And also the bandwidth allocated. So what is the bandwidth that you have taken? If you have taken a lease line of 2 Mbps between Mysore to Bangalore, and say 1 Mbps between Delhi to Mysore, naturally it will going to vary. So it depends on the two factors. One is the distance, second one is what is the bandwidth that you have purchased. The best examples for the point-to-point the technology are T1 as well as T3 lines. Absolutely there is no call setup established in the lease line. Always the lines will be available like. It is a dedicated circuit between the two endpoints. The second technology that normally we are using is a circuit switching. The circuit switching normally it requires the call setup to occur before the information can be transferred. Before you transfer the information, there should be a call setup. It is almost like we are using our landline with the help of a PSTN connection. So before you want to transfer or you want to talk, you have to establish a connection with the remote device. Then once the call setup has been established, then you can transfer the data. The session will tone down once the data transfer is completed. So automatically this is in fact a best example for dial on demand routing, where normally after once the data has been transferred, if there is no the data need to be transferred, if the line is idle, automatically it will get tear down. It means that whatever the amount that you are going to use, you are going to pay only for that, and always the line will not be on. Circuit switched lines are generally they are low speed. They are not fast like point-to-point technology. Normally they can support with reference to starting from 64 kbps, 128 kbps, so like that. Compared to point-to-point, they are they're very slow. The best examples for the circuit switched technology are one is the dial-up, that is the PSTN connection, and another one is ISDN. The third technology is the packet switching. The packet switching it will going to share a common infra between all providers subscribers. What does it mean? Take for example, I have got two cities. a Mysore and the Bangalore. Mysore I got n number of companies, company A, company B, company C, and these companies they have got their branches in Bangalore. They will going to use the common infrastructure. All these three companies they will going to use the common infrastructure which will be provided by the service provider. It will be shared so that they can able to communicate to their branch offices or to other offices. The complete routing, everything, it will be taken care by the service provider like. And the one disadvantage here is here you will be allowed to some specific committed bandwidth, normally which we referred as committed information rate. What is the bandwidth that you have been committed? Suppose if you have purchased say around 64 kbps is the committed information rate. At any point of time, you are allowed to transfer a data of 64 kbps, not beyond that. Even whether the network is congested or whatever it may be, any congestion happened, the service provider ensure that always you are allowed to transfer a data of 64 kbps. That is what exactly we called as CAR. And here you are going to pay whatever the thing that you are going to use it like. Whatever the bandwidth that you are using, based on that you are going to pay, and this will be the quite economical compared to point. And the bandwidth is not guaranteed beyond 64 kbps, but suppose if the bandwidth is available, chances are there you can avail the bandwidth. It can burst to the maximum accessibility like. That is what exactly we call as a bursting rate. It can go to the maximum which is available within the service provider network when there is no congestion, but that is not guaranteed. And this will be considerably very less expensive than dedicated point-to-point lines. The best examples for packet switching technology are frame relay and the X.25. So we will be learning the frame relay in the next lab exercises. Then let us try to learn some information related to the WAN terms. It means how exactly the router at Mysore is get connected to the router at Bangalore. Here connection till up to the service provider network has been shown here. From again to the another service provider network, same thing will going to happen on the other end like. Now I am having a router. Normally the router the serial interface, which normally we call it as the WAN interface. That WAN interface, it needs to be connected to either to a modem, or it can be connected to a CSU DSU called a channel service unit, data service units. And from CSU DSU it will be connected to the demarcation point, which normally we call as the last checkpoint of the service provider. The demarcation point is the last checkpoint of the service provider. Now whatever the thing that will be that we are checking is from the router whether we could able to communicate to CSU DSU unit or to the modem. So up to there we can check. Beyond that it is the completely the problem with related to the service provider if there is a link down. Now from the demarcation it will be connected to the smart jack which will be normally with reference to the lease line, and from that the demarcation point or a smart jack it will go to the central office. So the connectivity from the demarcation point till to the central office normally we called as a local loop. This is what normally the service provider will going to check whether he is having a connectivity from the central office or till to the demarcation point, so that to ensure that there is no problem from his specific side. Again from the central office it will go for the different the branch exchange office, like that it will be keep on getting connected. Same way it will go for the on the other side. On the other side again from the central office it will go to the smart jack or the demarcation point. From the demarcation point it will go for the another CSU DSU unit or to a modem, and from that it will get connected to the router. So this is how normally one router from one end it will get connected to the another end of the router. Now, normally, if you observe with reference to the local area network, in the local area network, you will be having the data when it is getting transferred in the local area network. You're using the Ethernet frame or a token ring frame. So, all these things as a form of the packet, it will get encapsulated. So, which you have learned as a part of OSI. In the same way, even the data which is getting transferred from the router WAN interface, when it is till it reaches to the another WAN interface, there are certain encapsulation methods that you are going to use to transfer the data. So by default, you will be having you will be having on Cisco routers the HDLC. HDLC is the Cisco proprietary encapsulation. It will be available, high level data link control, and it does not support authentication. You need not to configure anything. By default, if you want to enable the two serial links, it is as simple as that. HDLC has already been configured. You need to configure the IP address. Just you have to enable that interface, then automatically it will start to work. So apart from that, there are the other the protocols which we can be used, the methods that will be used for the encapsulation. So what are those? They can be point-to-point protocol, the PPP. The second one is the frame relay. Third one is X.25, and the fourth one is the ATM. So HDLC, PPP, frame relay, X.25, and ATM. So these are the some of the different encapsulation methods that we can use for the WAN interfaces like. But in this the specific the course, you will be learning more with reference to point-to-point protocol as well as the frame relay. Now let us in this specific lab we will be learning with related to PPP. PPP stands for point-to-point protocol. So which normally you can use it for wherever you are finding a lease line connection. That is a point-to-point connectivity. Wherever you are finding point-to-point connectivity, always you can go with the PPP. The PPP has got some specific advantages. So what are the advantages that you are having? One is authentication. Second one is it can compress the data so that more data that can be transferred. Third one is multi-link, and the fourth one is error control. Now when you look up with reference to the authentication, the methods of authentication that are supported by the PPP are: one is a PAP, we call as a password authentication protocol. Second one is CHAP, challenge handshake authentication protocol. So one is a PAP, the password authentication protocol. Second one is CHAP, challenge handshake authentication protocol. Even in our the lab also, I'll going to show how to configure the PAP authentication and how to configure the CHAP authentication, as well as how to configure the encapsulation with the PPP. The PAP is a two-way authentication, but CHAP is a three-way handshaking. So in the PAP, you'll be configuring just a username and password. If the username and password, if it is matches, then it will allow to transfer the data. It will establish the connection like. If the username and the password, if it is not matching with the database of that router, then it will straight away reject it. Very simple. But it will not be the more secure like, because both the username and password, they are sending in the plain text. But when you look up with reference to the CHAP, CHAP is a three-way handshake. It is something like you can imagine with reference to the smuggling of the goods. There are the two people, so the two parties, they are going to come, they are going to have some specific codes. They will say the code number 1, the other person should respond for that code. If both are matches, then they will exchange the goods. The same way, the CHAP authentication will be of the more secure. And we will see how to configure both the PAP as well as the CHAP authentication. The compression, you can compress the data. It will use some specific algorithm where you can transfer the more amount of the data. So multi-link, when you configure on the multi-link, chances are there where you can combine the bandwidth and an aggregation bandwidth of data that can be the transferred like. and of course it can also support with reference to the error control. Now in the lab we will see how to configure the PPP as well as how to configure the PAP authentication as well as the CHAP authentication. Let us straight away get connected to our remote lab.